Yes, okay, so when people come in for that initial meeting, I call it a planning session, because it really is. We're going to sit and we're going to plan.
They call and make
They call and make an appointment, right? They'll speak with Doreen.
And your phone, just to...
So the phone numbers, and I think it's on the bottom of the screen.
It is. They're wonderful.
I like the guys in back there.
Oh, they're terrific.
So the number 781-740-7269.
Yep.
Our website has a lot of information, a lot of articles, a lot of blog posts explaining a lot about elder law, and I tell people to go to that website partly to get a feel for who I am. Am I going to be a good fit for them in terms of personality? And also because the more you know walking in, the more of a productive conversation we'll have. Okay. So that website has a lot of great information. So the website is just www.alexislevitt.com.
Okay.
Which I believe is also on the bottom of the screen.
So that is there.
Yes, so a lot of good information.
Okay, which we need, because I was lost.
Yes, right, which we all know what we know. I have no idea how to change the oil of my car. I don't want to know.
No,
I'm going to go to somebody who knows how to do that.
Absolutely, and I go to Charles right near you, car services, yes.
So you were asking about when people come in, so they call, they make an appointment, they speak with Doreen.
Who's excellent, very efficient.
She's lovely, she's wonderful. So, and then she sends them a checklist of everything they need to bring with them.
Oh, okay.
Which, like I said, is your filing cabinet, basically.
Good.
And, you know, people sometimes don't bring everything.
Yeah, what if they don't have all the records?
They might not have it, or it might be just too much work, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. We make do. The more I have, obviously, the more sure I can be in the plan I'm crafting for you.
How long will that first visit be? An hour?
So people bring all their various documents. They come in. We sit for about 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yes. So I say, eat a big breakfast. We are going to be working. You are going to be tired at the end of this planning session.
You have a room, a big table.
Big table. We spread out all the papers. We have our piles. Yes. And I'm asking all my nosy questions. I want to know about the family tree. Like I said, who lives here, who lives far away, what's your support staff, what does that look like?
Not much today, everybody lives far away.
I want to know if somebody's a veteran or not a veteran. Because that can trigger certain benefits. Like we were saying, you can bring veterans benefits into the home, then you're spending that much less of your own money every month. Your money stretches out, you stay at home longer. So that's why I look at their veteran status. And I have to look at the DD-214 to see the years of service, because the years of service affect what benefits you might get from the VA.
How lovely you know that.
So and then I need to know income, and then I need to know all the assets, and I need to know exactly who owns the assets. Sometimes it's joint, sometimes it's joint with a child, sometimes it's just one person owns the assets, sometimes it's a trust owns the assets, and the answers to all those questions change what my suggestions are going to be. So by the end of the 2-hour planning session, the family has learned a tremendous amount, and I have figured out, okay, given everything you've told me about the problems you want to address, what your goals are, what your support staff, your family tree looks like, your income and your assets, here's what I think you should do going forward. And that's where I say I think we should be looking at, for example, South Shore Elder Services benefits to come into the home, VA benefits to come into the home. Maybe we should be looking at a certain type of a trust for probate. Maybe we should be looking at a different kind of a trust.
What does probate mean? You don't take it to probate?
So probate is the process that we follow when a person dies. When we die, our assets get to wherever they're going, the spouse, the children, wherever it is. When we die, our assets get to those people in one of two ways. Our assets are either probate or non-probate. So probate is where the court is involved, that probate process that you hear about, and the paperwork and the lawyers and the time and the headache. Non-probate skips all that. So the goal is usually, but not always, to make your assets non-probate.
I did non-probate.
And so different ways to make your assets non-probate are to die with those assets not in your name alone.
Yeah, like an estate.
Right. So anything that's in your name and your name alone, when you die, goes through probate. But anything that might be joint, or maybe it's in trust, or maybe you put a child's name on there as a beneficiary, like life insurance, you name a beneficiary. An IRA, you name a beneficiary. Trusts, any assets that are in the trust live inside that trust. So anything like that is non-probate, and that skips that whole painful court process. So not always, but usually, usually the goal is to make our assets non-probate.
Okay.
So that's part of what we do.
And then I'm sitting there with not myself or husband and wife team or children.
So who comes to the planning session?
Yes.
So it varies. Sometimes the parents, the couple, will come by themselves. Sometimes they'll bring their children.
Is that good or bad for you?
You know, it all depends. It all depends. Sometimes if I have a couple that is 100% on top of everything, fully in control of their lives, they're the type of people who have always been financially literate, they pay their own bills, they've always managed their own finances, that couple might come in by themselves. Other people, something that we see frequently is maybe a wife always handled all the finances. The husband has no idea how to write a check. I see this frequently. So when she dies and he's now in charge, he's not going to come to that planning session by himself, because this is a whole universe he's never had to deal with. So he's going to bring his kids with him. So that's just an example.
Yes.
So a lot of times people bring their children, but you
I brought my daughter,
to.
and she was savvy and a banker, and then she did more because she didn't want her to go to probate, and she did a lot of things that they talked about that I was frankly over my head. But I think I felt secure.
Yes.
I felt secure. I felt like when I walked out of there, I felt very good.
Good.
And I think that's what you have to. I might have felt better if I had seen you, but I felt good. I felt okay.
Yes.
So what happens then when I leave? If I told you yes or no, I'm hiring you, or do I have to hire you before on the first visit?
No. So at the end of the planning session, we've worked through all of this information, all of these issues. We've figured out, what are your goals, and by the end of that planning session, in light of everything we just discussed, here's what I think you should do. Whatever it might be, a trust, a will, some Medicaid planning, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, deeding the house a certain way, whatever it is.
My God, there's so much to do.
There's
and
a
we're
lot
dying.
to do. Whatever it is we've decided you should do, I will say, here's what it is, and here's what the fee will be.
Okay.
And then people go home. And
they don't tell you right away. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't expect anyone to make up
Yeah.
their mind like that. It's a big project. We're talking about changing names on assets. We're talking about changing deeds. It's not to be taken lightly.
We're paying for your expertise and your time.
But not just that, like, these are big decisions. You want to sleep on it.
Yes.
So I tell, by the end of the planning session, here's what I think we should do. Here's what the fee will be. The client goes home, sleeps on it. In the meantime, we send them a retainer agreement, which is just a fancy word for a contract. It says, here's what we talked about. Here's how much it will be. Whenever you're ready, you mail this back with payment, and we'll get started.
People don't shop around for this. I mean, you shop around for who you want, but once you go to the meeting, don't you pretty much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd say almost everybody decides, yes, we're going to go ahead with this.
Because aren't there messy things? I don't like him. This kid didn't do this, and blah, blah, blah. And,
among the family?
Among the families.
Oh, it gets interesting.
It gets into hostile and everything. And I didn't have any of that, thank goodness. But oh boy, I've seen friends who's.
Yes,
gets messy.
I've helped family write children out of wills, make sure son-in-laws can't get anything. It's different families. But then other families are wonderful, giving to nieces and nephews in the church and making sure everybody's included.
And they have it to give, I'm assuming, if they're doing that.
Yes. So
isn't it interesting? I said to myself, well, I left 3 children, brought 3 children in the world, and I left everything to my 3 children. And I have grandsons, and I have son-in-laws that are marvelous, but I said, no, these are the people I'm responsible for.
Yes.
And I'm as close to my grandchildren as if they've been, I gave birth to them. Yes. But I said, no, this is how I'll do it. But I know my sister said, I'm leaving this one 10,000, or that one 20 of my grandchildren.
Oh, I see.
So, You know,
Yes.
it can go many ways. There are a lot to think
There's
about.
no right or wrong. In the end, it's whichever path feels right for you.
Yes.
There's
yeah.
no right or wrong. There's pros and cons. So leaving money directly to a grandchild, if that grandchild has not yet gone to college, can affect what financial aid they might be eligible for. So that could be a negative.
Yes.
On the other hand, who wants college debt?
Yes. That's true too.
So giving that child
Yeah.
money could be good. So there's pros and cons.
But we use your head for that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes.
use your head, because who would have thought of those two things? I wouldn't have.
Right. So that's what we're
Yeah.
here for.
Yes.
And that's probably, I would say that's a big takeaway, that there's pros and cons to everything, and there's no one right path that works for everybody, which is something that drives me a little crazy. I just want to say this, that people come in, well, my neighbor has a trust and said I should have a trust. A trust might be the perfect thing for your neighbor. Maybe she went to an attorney who did a whole analysis and said, yes, a trust is perfect for you. But for you, maybe a trust is a bad idea. Or maybe the kind of trust that your neighbor has is not the right trust, and we should do a different kind of trust. So that's just something to really keep in mind, is just because you hear it from a neighbor or a best friend or on the radio doesn't necessarily make it so.
Because that's why I'm hiring you.
All of what we do is very tailored to each family. There is no solution that works for everybody.
And also, my youngest daughter is totally deaf. When you have a handicapped child, and I hate to call Laurie handicapped, she works and is very bright and everything, but there are a lot of dynamics come into this. I'm not coming in and
Yes.
saying, and you tell me in a minute this is what we'll do, and we'll, you know,
Right.
a lot of dynamics come in.
Yes.
And we're paying for expertise. What else would, I mean, when I'm finished and I call you back, do I get another meeting? And
No, not usually, because we've spent 2 hours together and I've really gotten just about everything I
and
need
you know
to
us.
know.
Yes.
And at that point, I feel like I've gotten to know you and your personality, what your goals are, what your fears are. We get a lot done in that 2-hour planning session. So then when you
Do I
decide...
bring lunch, or I just hope I'm full? Yeah.
I tell everybody, eat a big breakfast.
Yeah.
So then when we start the project, I know what I need to do. I might have some questions I'll call you and ask you, but I have, 95% of what I need to go ahead and do the project.
You must do that project taking your time. Do you spend time and hours looking it over in your desk at your office alone, figuring?
Yes, so I have an assistant, I have a paralegal, and we each do our parts, but it all comes back to me, and I go through everything, and I change this sentence, I change this paragraph, I change this, I change that. So everything really gets tailored to that particular family.
And how long does that take? I mean, when all is said and done.
That's the magic question. So people hire me, they say, okay, we're going to do the project, the trust, the healthcare proxy, whatever it is we've said that we should do. This is the difficult question. It all depends on how much work it is and what roadblocks I'm going to hit. So if it's a pretty straightforward case with no roadblocks, couple of weeks, I'll have drafts to you. You review the drafts, you call me back, my son's phone number is wrong, change it, whatever it might be. Any corrections, they come in, we sign everything, and off you go. You're done. This whole project is now off your shoulders.
But what if I'm writing this kid out, or I'm divorced, I hate my husband, or whatever?
Then it gets more complicated. It gets more complicated, and it might take more weeks. So, it could take 2 months instead of 1 month.
But you want to get it right.
Yes, I want to get it right. If I might have some legal research I have to do. Sometimes the banks can be a very big holdup. They are very good about not sharing private information. So if I need information from a bank, that can take several weeks because I need the client to give permission, and then I need the bank to put that into their computer, and then once it's in the computer, I can call the bank and say, this is what I need, and